we go with another situation involving Russell Wilson. So a few months ago, it seemed Wilson was potentially on his way out of Seattle. However, in recent months, trade rumors have faded, and it seems Russ and the Seahawks are moving ahead together. Last Thursday, he was asked about his future in Seattle, and here is what he said.
There's a lot of teams out there that people were saying that I was going to or would go to. I requested a trade. I did not request a trade. I've always wanted to play here, and the reality is, I think calls were getting thrown around and this and that, and I think that's just a reality. But I think at the end of the day, the real reality is that I'm here, and I'm here to win. I'm here to win it all.
All right, so one of the considerations, obviously, here, if he's staying, maybe he needs better protection. Last year, he had the most pressured dropbacks of any quarterback in the league, also inside the top 5 in quarterback hits and sacks. But that really isn't the story here. The story is an offseason in which we were talking a lot about Russell Wilson's departure, and then suddenly that conversation seems to have been silenced. Diana Rossini, what should we know right this minute about the relationship between Russell Wilson and the Seahawks?
Yeah, Mike, I get the sense that this is improved. This is getting better. I'm not sure what's making it better exactly, but it seems like this is something that both sides are willing to look past for this season. Shane Waldron, the new offensive coordinator, has been in touch with Russell Wilson. They've been working really well together. Russell, in that same press conference we just aired, was talking about Waldron, and really he sounded impressed with him. And really the story here to me is the fact that he's working on improving the offense shows you he's obviously all in for the season, but just the fact that even 2 weeks ago when we heard that Seattle was interested in trading with the Atlanta Falcons for Julio Jones, Russell was on the phone with Julio, trying to sell him to Seattle, trying to get him to play there. So that obviously tells you that this is the place he wants to be for now. This is where he's happy. So I just think, like in most relationships, you got to look past some of the warts, some of the pimples, if you think there's something good underneath it all.
So Dominique, here's the way I look at it to sort of conflate the two big NFL quarterback stories of this offseason. It looks like Russell Wilson has gotten himself to a place that Aaron Rodgers has not, and we don't know if we ever will, which is that Wilson is in a place where he realizes this is where I'm going to be. If I'm going to play this year, it's going to be here, and I'm going to make it work the best I can. That doesn't necessarily mean anything for any future time, but that's what it looks like to me. Russell got himself there, and Aaron Rodgers did not.
I think Russell got himself there, and I think Russell had always planned to get himself there, but I don't think that it's over. I think Diana said at the beginning, he said, for this season. I think that's probably right, because we know Russell as a very calculated, kind of team-first company man, always says the right thing and always puts out the right message. I know he never explicitly demanded a trade, but certainly that came from somewhere. And then the craziest part about it was the Seahawks' reaction was kind of looking around, talking, considering it. Like whatever brought Russell Wilson, who's normally a very straightforward company guy, whatever brought him to the point where he was willing to let us all entertain the idea of him getting traded, that hasn't changed. Nothing's changed. And short of them having some sort of miraculous Super Bowl run, I imagine at the end of this season, given the fact that they're playing in probably the toughest division in football, that they will have a season that will disappoint, and Russell will be back on the trading market more seriously next year because the cap hit won't be as bad.
What do you think, D. Wood?
Yeah.
Yeah, listen, man, this is all smoke. This whole situation right now is smooth over, but it's not going anywhere. Like those teams didn't come out of thin air, okay? Whether it's Russ' agent, whoever it is behind the scenes, they had input on this whole thing. And Russ there were serious discussions with Chicago Bears about trading for Russell Wilson. So we know how volatile this situation was with the Seattle Seahawks. And listen, Russell Wilson is playing this year with the new offensive coordinator in Shane Waldron. That division has gotten a lot better. We've seen the Los Angeles Rams trade for Matthew Stafford. The 49ers are going to be better. The Arizona Cardinals are going to be better. If that offense doesn't improve dramatically, in my opinion, we will be right back here next offseason talking about Russell Wilson, but maybe in a different light on a different team.
Look, the quarterback carousel thing was the big story of the last offseason. Maybe it will be again. But from football to football, don't forget the Euros continue this morning. All the action is all over our networks here. Group F matches are on ESPN and the ESPN app today. We will see Cristiano Ronaldo in Portugal taking on Hungary. Coverage begins 11:30 a.m. Eastern, and then should be a great one, the rivalry matchup between France and Germany. Don't miss the action today on ESPN. As we continue, a Broncos Pro Bowler pitched his team to Aaron Rodgers. Why Denver should move heaven and earth to get the MVP no matter the cost.
First with Dr. J, he's my hero. I'm gonna say I'm up there. I'm gonna pick this guy right here.
Well, guess what? That's correct. That is right. Vince Carter with 8.
Yes, sir.
Is the correct answer. Kevin Durant has 5
Take
so
that.
far. Richard Jefferson has 4. It's a pretty good day for the Get Up analysts today as far as the trivia is concerned. Meanwhile, let's run the floor through last night's NBA action if you were just joining us. And it begins, despite being down by 18 at one point in this game, with the Hawks rallying to beat the Sixers 103-100. They even that series at 2 games apiece. Trae Young had 25 points, 18 assists. Second most assists in a Hawks playoff game ever. That series tied at 2 games apiece. Out west, Clippers also even up their series with the Jazz, 118-104. Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, each with 31. Leonard and George have each scored at least 20 points in all 11 games this postseason. They're the third duo in history to accomplish that feat. And then, of course, bad news for the Nets. Kyrie Irving ruled out for tonight's Game 5 against Milwaukee. An MRI confirms he has a sprained right ankle. James Harden, who strained the hamstring in Game 1, also remains out. And we talked about this a little earlier in the hour. And Vince Carter, I'm coming back to you on this because the officiating, it feels like, has played a major role in this series, particularly with them allowing P.J. Tucker and others to be as physical on the defensive end with Kevin Durant as they were. How closely or will you be watching the way the game is called tonight to see how it will determine the outcome?
Oh, I'll be watching, Greeny, because it reminds me of old school Eastern Conference playoff basketball right now, the way they're allowing just the hand checking, the bumping through screens, everything. And that's the factor. The Bucks know KD is one of the best scorers this game has seen. So the way you have to slow him down is beat him up, hit him, wear him down, particularly now not having Kyrie or KD. So down the stretch, you're hoping he doesn't have the legs to take over a game like we know that he can.
Right. And so for what it's worth, I got a stat. This season, they played 5 games with Kevin Durant and neither of the other 2 members of the Big Three. They were 4-1 in those games, for whatever that's worth, regular season games. But if I'm telling you right now the Nets are going to win tonight, how many points are you telling me KD is going to have to score?
40 or better. The number is popping in my head, 45-ish. And I say that because that means he's having a special night. And if he can get Blake Griffin or Joe Harris to have a special night as well, the Nets can pull off a win without the other 2. But 45 is the number I'm looking at right now.
All right, so that is certainly, we talked about pressure earlier in the show. That's a lot of pressure on KD to come up huge tonight. Meanwhile, we talked about Clippers Jazz. That series now tied at 2 games apiece. So it's a best of 3. Utah has home court advantage. Who do you like?
I give the edge right now to the Clippers because of how they play and the adjustment that they made at home in games 3 and 4. But if Mike Conley does not come back in this series, it's going to be tough. And don't get me wrong, Greeny. Donovan Mitchell has been spectacular. 6 straight games of 30 points or better. He had 37 last game. It's just, will he have enough? Will he have enough to beat the defenders that the Clippers have? I mean, they're just throwing different guys at him. And yes, he's figuring it out. But no Mike Conley, that means he also has to make plays because he scored 37 and it wasn't enough. So I think Mike Conley is the X factor right now to how this game swings.
All right, so a lot to depend upon from him. And then finally, one more thing. I mean, we can't let a night like last night go by without getting Vince Carter's opinion on this. Kawhi Leonard throwing one down in the face of Derek Favors. This is a feeling that you know well. That's Kawhi knocking down a shot there, but we're going to show you the Kawhi dunk here in a moment, and I want your perspective on it coming up right there. Vince Carter, your thoughts.
I've dunked on a player or 2 in my career, and a dunk like that is a game changer and a momentum swinger. If you're playing on the road, it quiets the crowd. If you're playing at home, it blows the roof off the building. So, yeah, we know Kawhi, when he dunks on or when he scores, he doesn't show a lot of emotion. But you can see after he dunked, you saw the pause there. And that's his emotion right there. So it's a no greater feeling. Greeny, I hope one day, and I say this wholeheartedly, I hope one day you get to experience that.
Oh, yes. Well, no, you're selling me short. Obviously, in my day, I've dunked on quite a few people. At least most of them were imaginary. That's Vince Carter, outstanding. One more look as he puts Derek Favors on the poster. VC, outstanding as always. We'll come back much more with you as we continue here, much more hoops as we continue. But now, back to the NFL we go with another situation.